Welcome back. We have Mark Bertoli joining us from Abbott Wealth Management. It's great to have you back on the show.
You bet.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on overseas right now in Greece that is affecting other countries, Europe obviously, but
Absolutely.
perhaps us.
Yeah, it's great. The great debate. Greece has to come up with $1.6 billion by next Tuesday to pay the International Monetary Fund. Their creditors are saying, yes, we've negotiated this package. Then there was an election in Greece. The new prime minister really was elected on saying, we don't agree with the austerity measures that have to take place in order to become more responsible financially. So now he's negotiating, and even there's words today now that even if he does negotiate a deal with the group, the creditors, that the parliament may turn it down. So, there's lots going on. And how do you possibly follow, tomorrow will be a news story, and we've talked about this. And how do you as an investor shield yourself from this? And it's going to go back, and we were just chatting about a conversation we had in 2011. Greece was the major theme of the year. The Canadian market was actually negative that year. And I remember I told a story to you back then of a couple that came in because they heard this headline about Greece, and I said, you own a lot of CN Rail stock. And I checked with the president of CN Rail, they're not building a railway to Greece. So, it comes back to knowing what you own and knowing why you own it. So for instance, some of the principles we use, is it difficult to replicate? Is it difficult to live without? And is it difficult to compete with? And those are some of the criteria by which we buy valuable companies or companies with value, with true value in earnings. And what happens is when you own things like that, these situations, and you watch the earnings of those companies, when you have a negative downturn in the market due to a headline, whatever the headline may be, you can take more positions because there's a good chance that those great companies are going to go on sale. It's a very, very effective strategy to deal with all of the news and the headlines and the emotional movements in the markets. So it's a neat way to think about investing.
So how much should Canadians care about what's going on in Greece right now? Should we be aware but not panic and not get too upset about it?
Again, it's all about knowing what you own and why you own it. If, for instance, we were talking this morning, and Tim Hortons, of course, was taken out, but in 2008, we had a financial crisis, and when I drove up to the drive-through at Tim Hortons, it was just as long of a lineup. So really, if you own Tim Hortons through that crisis, it was probably a good thing. It may, the price of the stock on the auction called the stock exchange may have gone down, but if you own a great company of value and you continue to buy more of it on sale because other people are willing to sell it to you at a discount, well then, that's fantastic as an investor.
Getting back to Greece, $1.6 billion in debt. It's just, that's quite a quandary for any country to be in.
This is just this payment that's due.
The payment that they owe.
This particular payment. There's a lot more than
How did they get there?
Well, there's a lot of small bad decisions. How's that? There was a huge underground economy. This is going back to 2011 when all of this was revealed, but there was a huge underground economy where a lot of people used cash, didn't pay any tax. Also, early retirement. One of the austerity measures was that they're going to bump retirement back to age 67 in Greece. Well, the Greek people really don't want any part of that. But guess what? Guess when you and I get OAS, age 67. So, here we are trying to be responsible as Canadians and the rest of the world, and it's no different than changing an old habit.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. We have a question of the week. If we could get that one up on the screen. How is charitable giving effective as part of estate planning?
That's a great question. Estate planning can be used to redirect the proceeds of your estate. And when I say redirect, if nothing's done, they're death and taxes. right? So it's going somewhere, and there will be a tax bill. And most likely, if you have a lot of registered funds or embedded capital gains that haven't been realized, especially on intergenerational transfer, there's going to be a tax bill. You can offset that tax bill by making arrangements in your estate to do charitable contributions from your estate. So, for instance, if you get a tax credit for doing a contribution, that means that you choose to send your money. For me, it may be something like Rotary. Okay, so I choose to send money to Rotary, where a portion would go to Rotary and a portion would go to tax instead of it all going to tax. So one aspect is that you get to create a legacy and help other people and choose where that money's being spent. But there's also another couple of things you can do. You can do a property bequest. So for instance, you had a property somewhere and you had to get rid of it. You could donate that and leave the cash in your estate. You can also donate a life insurance policy if you name it, and then there's a tax credit on that helps out the estate in tax planning.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Fascinating. We're out of time.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for being here, Mark Bertoli.